Alright guys, it's been a while, but I'm about to throw together a quick video on the axles for the swap. As you can see, intercooler's in, wheels are on. If you saw my post, you know that it went for its first drive somewhat successfully. Long story short, I'm going to have to pull the transmission back out of it because I'm afraid I have a flywheel or possibly a pressure plate issue. It's wanting to slip once we get into boost. But I'm going to give you a quick summary of what I did for the axles. And then after this, if you want to stick around, I am going to have a few videos, like snippets of when I was actually doing the axles. So I'm going to start from passenger side over. So passenger side I got flywheel in my brain because of it. But passenger side axle, we are going to use a I believe it was 91 front wheel drive automatic axle. Reason being, it is the shortest one and you need the extra play. You need the extra wiggle room for that axle to shift back and forth within its boot, correct? So, because not enough play, you damage possibly the transmission or break your axle. And then too much play, you're going to separate that axle into two pieces and also possibly ruin your transmission or anything else that shaft slaps while it's spinning. But all right, moving over to the center, it's going to be the intermediate shaft. This is a part of confusion that I have seen online. From everything that I have searched, keep in mind I am using a 1991 front wheel drive transmission. I still don't have the answers on why you have to use that one. I think you can use a 2G. Just the biggest key for this is check your spline count. What's your transmission spline count and axle spline count you plan to use, and what's the spline count on your hubs. So the length can be figured out. You just have to have the correct spline count. So that's taken a little bit of research, but 91 front wheel drive transmission. So now if you use an all wheel drive transmission, if you're doing an all wheel drive swap, you're in the clear. There's more parts available, interchangeable for these cars for the all wheel drives than the front wheel drives. So anyway, intermediate shaft. Basically, you use any intermediate shaft from the first generation DSM to 96. I don't have much information on if a 97 or 98 will work, but 91 to 96 are all the same. In the video that I'm going to show after this, there's a small area on the AC compressor bracket that you have to grind down to make it fit flush. This would be easier with two people, or even easier than that, putting the intermediate shaft on before you drop the engine in the car, because you actually have to put a little bit of leverage on it to get the bolts to start. I'm thinking if it's out of the car, you can probably loosen the bolts to the transmission and then install the bolts loosely for the intermediate shaft and then tighten everything up. And I think that's probably the best way to do it. Someone can, verify that in the comments. But anyway, intermediate shaft, 91 or whatever the first year model of a GSX or all-wheel drive car is, to 96. I can't recall if 2G DSMs ran an intermediate shaft. If they do, they're probably the same. So anyway, 91 to 96. if you have a 97 or 98 car, do some research. But this axle, driver's side. So here I went with, I actually went with, because I couldn't find one to fit perfect, I went with the passenger side axle to this car, and I just swapped the cups. So the inner cup of these is basically a female cup, or yes, a female cup, and it slides into the intermediate shaft. So I took the cup off of the original driver's side and I swapped it to the passenger side, and I'm running the passenger side axle on this side. It's a little tighter than I want it to be as far as in and out play, but to get it going and driving, it's fine for now. If I ever want to do any like track stuff, I'll probably want an axle with a little bit more play in it, but for now, for what I'm doing, it's gonna roll fine. From what I'm seeing, most people want 3/4 to an inch of in and out play. That's like the sweet spot, it sounds like. So keep that in mind when you're going about it. But let's go ahead and take a peek at what we got going on. As you can see, I got the wheels on. Don't worry, I have coilovers for it. So why did I pop that? This terrible gap will be fixed eventually. Don't worry. Let's see here. Nothing special under here. I reused the original fans, so that's nice. They actually bolt up to this aftermarket radiator pretty good. I got all my plumbing good and tight. I want to weld some together. I don't like using all these couplers and clamps, but for now it's gonna work. So, but anyway, still waiting on the buyer for that. He probably won't come, but in the meantime, I have got something else. If you guys want to follow along, I'm about to start putting a video together for. If you know what that is, you know. But I'm gonna have a garage simulator using PlayStation. So, I've got some 2x4s over there for it, and I'm gonna make a very rough setup to begin with, and then eventually it's gonna go in it's actually gonna go in the Eagle Talon that this engine came out of. So I want an in-car simulator. And then this one here, if we got any Z32 fans, if you've seen any of my shorts, you know that I LS swapped one of these a few years ago. This one here will not be LS swapped because it is a 87,000 mile twin turbo. Yes, it is automatic, but for the price that I gave for this, it's probably going to be a flip. So I'm going to get it running and probably just flip it and make a little money and move on to the next thing. So if you might be interested in this eventually, let me know. But yeah, I figure a low mile Z32 with a few upgrades, like those are usually pretty good. So anyway, stick around for the videos on this. Some of them are at night, so you can't really see much, and I'm doing it by myself, so just bear with me on that. Stick around for this. Stick around for this if you want. But yeah, so any questions, put them down in the comments, and I'll get back with you. Okay, yes, it took me a total of, I don't know, 10 minutes. Not that bad. So what you do here, I'll go ahead and point it out, at least the way I did it, and keep in mind, probably not the ideal way, but all you gotta do is take off your 2 bolts to your strut here, take this line off. For more room and not to stress your line, I would take your brake line off of your strut, because once this is loose, once these bolts are out, the whole hub assembly wants to lay over this way, and it's kind of hanging on by the hose. So if you're planning on upgrading your hose, then you know, whatever. But if you want to try to save this piece here, take it loose. And not to mention, the stealth axles are much beefier than the 1G axles, so you want to make room anyway. So, but what we have here, this is the main thing in my research that you want to make sure you have. See that play there? Things I've read, you want 3/4 to an inch. See, this isn't even pulled all the way out either. Let's see. Alright, that's all the way out. So, look at this. I'd say that's roughly 3/4 to an inch in play. And that makes me feel pretty good. Like, let me show you something. These are the cups here, and you're looking at what? 3 to 3.5 inches of play within this cup. So imagine it's butted to the back. Once it's bolted down, it's pulled back about an inch. So that means you have that full length of motion there to be pulling on it. Not to mention, say you're steering or you raise and lower your car, you hit bumps, that's gonna shift and play inside this cup. So that is the reason for wanting this play right here. So, but anyways, thank goodness one axle's in, the passenger side is done. I'm gonna tighten all this up, and you know, I'll have some coilovers for it eventually, but I just want this thing to roll under its own power, hopefully by the end of the weekend. That would be my 5-year-old knocking on the garage door. So I'm gonna get the driver's side in tomorrow and give you all an update. All right. Okay, well, change of plans. I have worked into the night a little bit, so I thought I would document my findings when installing these axles. So what I've run into, not a big deal, but you know, other side's done, doing the driver's side. So one thing to know is if you're a front wheel drive, your chassis has everything you need to put the intermediate shaft in. So just because your car didn't have it factory doesn't mean you can't put it in here. But the brackets are a little different, possibly. So this is the intermediate shaft here, and let me slide that in there 1 sec. Alright, we're in. It's easy to do. You just kind of fish it through the hole here and slide it in. Slides in pretty good. You got to get the grooves lined up. But anyway, work with me a little bit here. So there ends up being a small gap between the mounting location and the hole it's supposed to go in. Let's see, it'll press in about to there. I'd say it's about a 1/4 inch gap or so. So what I found is, I'm going to remove this guy here, not hit myself in the face with it. Do you see that lip right there on the AC bracket? This lip right here. That is about the space that's not allowing me to line my holes up. So I'm just going to get under here with my die grinder with this guy. So, and I'm going to flush that down. I'm gonna flush that lip down smooth, and I'll probably raise it just a tad to where it meets that top of the bracket. But I'll get back after that. 1 sec. Alright, so 5 minutes later, we got it smooth out. Doesn't have to be perfect. It's not. But let's see how we meet up. Bear with my limit of light here. So let's see. Can I get that to sit still? No. So you're gonna hut, and here we go. All right, so let's see. We got it ground down. If I can fit y'all in there. Right there. See that ledge, that lip? Gone. So now we're gonna swing this guy up and flush. You can see through there that the bracket is flush with the block now. So, and same with that, if I can get a good eyeball on it, but either way, now it's flush. So that's probably one of the key things with this whole axle thing, to make it fit good. So sorry for the TV in the background, got stuff playing, but yeah. So now I'll mess with a little bit more of it. Catch y'all later. Alright, so a few days went by and I ordered an axle and it did not work. So the axle I'm going to put in the description at the bottom is only going to be for the passenger side axle. You will not want to use this axle for the driver's side. What I ended up doing, because I want to get it, some progress done on it, is I used the axle that came out of this car. So I used the passenger side axle that I had from my 94 Dodge Stealth, and I swapped the cups. So that cup there, the inner cup, is actually the passenger side cup, and this is the driver's side axle. So driver's side axle, passenger side cup. That I'm not going to use. This is scrap. It's about, it might be half an inch to 3/4 of an inch shorter, but the key thing that I've learned with these axles are you want obviously an automatic axle on both sides. They are shorter. The dimensions in which this engine and transmission sits in this car requires shorter axles. So just get in your head that you're going to look for automatic axles for both sides. And both sides meaning you're actually going to need a passenger side automatic to put on the driver's side, but you're just going to swap the cups like we did here. So passenger side automatic from eBay, wherever you want to get. On the passenger side, use a all-wheel drive or 2G up to 96 intermediate shaft. The bolts are there even if you're running for front-wheel drive. Intermediate shaft, and another passenger side axle for your outer shaft with swapped cups on the inner. So that's it.